Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our next edition of ICC Biz Live. We have with us today a very eminent person, Mr. Parimal Brahma. He is my JNU senior. He's an MPhil in economics, but he has multiple other qualifications. He joined the Indian Audit and Account Service in 1966. He worked in various senior positions in various states in the CAG organization, Controller and Auditor General of India, and in several ministries of the Government of India. He was an additional secretary in the Ministry of Personnel before returning to the CAG office as Deputy Controller and Auditor General of India, from where he ultimately retired in 2004. He also served as the Reserve Bank of India as the banking ombudsman for the Gujarat region. Since retirement, he's been teaching business ethics, economics, and corporate governance as an adjunct professor in many business schools. He has many publications on the Corridors of Power, the Theatre of the Absurd, the Paradise Birds of Manas Sarovar, My Freedom of Expression, Confessions of Bureaucrat, and many. I can go on and on, but let me go on to the dialogue with him. And he has a tremendous knowledge, which is not enough. It is not our 45-minute session is not enough to get it. I would request all of you to read some of his books, his articles, his paper, which appear in the newspapers regularly, and perhaps you can get an inkling of him. So our topic is economic growth in synchronization with environment. So question is, when we joined economics, the first thing we were taught is that there's no such thing as a free lunch. To get anything, some resources have to be spent. And what you have said in your article, economic professor, quoting Professor Bhavatosh Datta, economic growth is economic gain. Economic gain is a gain somewhere without any loss of resources. So keeping this conceptual background in mind, is it really possible possible to decouple economic growth from environment? Your thoughts, please, sir.
Thank you, Rajesh. It's a pleasure to be with you and to interact with you. Let me first congratulate you on your getting PhD. So we can call you now Dr. Rajesh. Now, thank you very much for your kind words. But I don't deserve. I'm a simple man. And I started as a lecturer in Vidyasagar College in Calcutta. And having, immediately after passing out from Calcutta University, an MA economics. And then, I entered the civil service, which actually killed much of my creative. And I was basically a poet. And my book of poems was published when I was in college. So that the bureaucracy actually killed my all these literary powers. However, anyway, there is a saying that don't regret the past, because you cannot change the past, and you don't know what is future. But don't spoil your perfectly present by thinking about the future. So no regrets. Now, today's topic, before I start, I would say a brief introduction, as he mentioned about my great teacher, Bhavatosh Datta. Actually, for every program, for everything in the world, there is a trade-off. There are two words which are very popular. One is trade-off and another is win-win. Now, trade-off and win-win situation, actually, there is nothing called win-win situation. Win-win situation is there when there are very minor things like, people crack jokes and, all these mimics and other things. But everything, the jokes also are at the cost of others. At the cost of others. But there are certain things, certain jokes for which both the parties can laugh, both the parties enjoy. So that is a win-win situation. But that kind of win-win situation is not possible in the real world. Now, we are talking about the economic growth and environment. Then economic growth and in the environment, there is a serious trade-off. And was to see that to what extent one can compromise. And one has to compromise towards the truth. And one should not really, deal with certain imaginary things, that something imaginary can happen. So on facts, on factual things, this trade-off has to be done. Now, as Dr. Bhabatosh Datta said, that what is an economic gain? Economic gain or economic growth? If there is an economic growth, how to measure the gain? So the gain, according to him, is some gain somewhere without any loss anywhere. Some gain somewhere without any loss anywhere. That Bhabatosh Datta took this from a famous Italian economist, Vilvedo Pareto. Pareto, many people are not aware of Pareto, but Pareto had a wonderful theory. What is called, there is Pareto equilibrium, there is a Pareto efficiency, and there is Pareto optimality. Now, Pareto optimality is this, that you cannot have development without harming anybody. So you cannot benefit a person. It is a point where it is not possible to develop further without harming others. So that is Pareto optimality. But that Pareto optimality has not been achieved anywhere, and it is not possible, perhaps, while taking up development projects. So the trade-off, there is always a trade-off while we are talking about economic development, economic growth, and even politics or economics, anywhere. So I can give one example how the trade-off is to be used for achieving equilibrium. As for example, there is a man-animal conflict for a very long time. Man-animal conflict in all the tiger reserves or lion reserves, Gir forest or Ranthambore or even Sundarban, and in all the tiger reserves, there is a man-animal conflict. Now what is to be done? Now this conflict, because you require to develop the tiger reserves under Project Tiger, but at the same time, you do not want to harm the residents and the people who live on these forests and all that. So the Tiger project was undertaken in a big way, and the Project Tiger has been able to solve a great deal the man-animal conflict, but it is more in favor of the animal than in favor of the man. The man, actually, the compromise has been done by the man, that okay, we'll give way to the animals, because animals cannot really speak for themselves. So that this trade-off has been done in favor of the animals, and the compromise has been done by the man, but the man has done this compromise in favor of the animal. So the trade-off always would be in favor of somebody. Similarly, for economic growth and environment, then what would be the trade-off? How far how far the economic growth will benefit, or how far the environment will benefit. So this is the first point. So I think I've spoken enough on this, and mm, later on I'll illustrate with certain examples. Okay, Rajesh, over to you.
Sir, kindly give, this is such a wonderful lesson. Give one example of this trade-off, sir, please. One example.
As for example, there are, you see, Narmada project, Narmada Dam project. Narmada Dam project, you know, I have worked in Gujarat, and I have seen that the vast region of Gujarat, that is this Saurashtra region, they are starving for water. There is no water for irrigation. There is no water for even drinking water. So it's a very serious situation. And Gujarat government had done all the canalling work, extensive canalling work throughout Gujarat, throughout particularly Saurashtra. But this Meda Patkar movement was there, and they were against this. Even this was supported by foreign, elements. They funded. Even it is said that even World Bank funded this agitation to stop the project of the of the Sardar Sarovar Dam. That Sardar Sarovar Dam should not be raised or something like that. So finally, it came to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court ultimately agreed. But the argument was that thousands of people on the banks of Narmada, particularly the tribal people on the left bank of the Narmada, their area would be completely flooded, and they would be out of their livelihood, they're out of their homes, and they will be destitute, and they will be completely, finished. That was Meda Patkar's argument. And it went on for years and years and years. But when the truth came out in the Supreme Court, it was found that trade-off was there, that the tribal people, even it amounted to lakhs, about 1 or 2 lakh people, they were actually rehabilitated. They were given new homes, and they were provided with some livelihood also. So they did not lose that much as Meda Patkar was this thing. So there was a loss this side of the tremendous environmental loss, because millions of trees were submerged, and arable lands and homes were inundated, and hundreds of hectares of land was inundated with the dam. But the benefit Gujarat got is tremendous. Because of that, this Saurashtra region became completely green, and the agriculture, it became an agriculture hub. So the economic gain which got in Saurashtra was much more than the loss of whatever called estimated loss. On the other side, environment, human, suffering. If you calculate the social cost, in the social cost benefit, it was found that Sardar Sarovar project, this Sardar Dam, Narmada Dam, gave much more benefits, disproportionately more benefits to the people than to the loss to a fewer number of people. So I come to that point what Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill said, that utilitarianism, that any action, any project or action or activity is ethical if it benefits the maximum number. So maximum good for the maximum people. So maximum good for the maximum number. So in Gujarat, this example shows that maximum number of people benefited, and somehow the trade-off got some sort of equilibrium.
Thank you, sir. That I get the point. The trade-off is inevitable, but we have to maximize the gain and minimize the loss. That is the
Yes.
learning I get from you. Now,
Yes.
Another example I have from my own. In my state, single-use plastic is banned, yet poor vendors keep on using them. Fish vendors, food vendors, and people also don't are happily in taking that. They don't. I carry a cloth bag from my own house whenever I go to buy, but there are people who conveniently take them. What will you call this? Why are people not that much conscious? Or I mean, your thoughts?
Yes, the education is necessary, and the political will is required. In the most of this trade-off, the political will would be necessary. Political will and justice, sense of justice should be there, and one should fight on the side of the truth, not on false vanity or on the false side, because most of the time this conflict is magnified to project that other side is so suppressed and all these things. What is happening in minorities now here? I have said in my book, as for example, that always there's minority question in India. Majoritarianism and minoritism is a very burning topic and all that. But problem is, who doesn't? I mean, people don't understand, or people want to admit that what is a minority? Or how do you define minority? Now, you will find in India a large number of districts, about 100 districts. The Muslims are in brute majority. Take Murshidabad. There are 90% population belong to Muslim, and maybe 10% others. Now, whether Murshidabad district is a minority district or a majority district. Similarly, about 100 districts in India, there Muslims are maybe in the majority. Now, what is the definition of minority? It has been defined, but nobody wants to admit it. As for example, if the number of people is below 10%, if it's up to 10% is a threshold, if a group or community belongs to a nation and constitutes less than 10% or up to 10%, that they may be called minority. But above 10%, they cannot be called minority. Now, in India, 220 million people belong to the minority community. 200. How can 220 million people, who are constituting almost the population of Pakistan, Indonesia, less than Indonesia, and slightly less than USA, they can be called minority? Because the political this thing, they are not able to admit it, because they are not minorities, they are majorities. So they are equal to the other majority communities. So the threshold, if they pass threshold of 10%, that community must be called a majority community. So the Muslims in India are at par with Hindus, and in many places they are much more than the Hindus, much more majority than the Hindus. So this is just a thought. Sorry, I give another example of Tehri Dam. So when I visited Tehri Dam, I was shown this trade-off. This trade-off, there was a Tehri city, small town city with very maybe a population of about 10-20,000 people. Small old city in Tehri, with some mandirs are also there, the temples. Now the Tehri Dam project was such that the entire Tehri town would be submerged, and all the houses in this thing will be destroyed, even the temples will be destroyed. But somehow or other, the political will was there, and the trade-off was there, and these people are told that all 20,000 people of Delhi they were actually downstream near on the banks of the river, Bhagirathi river. So they were rehabilitated on the hilltops. So new Tehri was born. The new Tehri with better facilities, better houses, better these things, better temples, and because of the political intervention and the people's cooperation, the trade-off was possible, and the people were shifted, and all the people are shifted. And when I visited this Tehri Dam, and the entire stretch of land, this thing, thousands of acres of land are submerged, and it was underwater. Now there are many other arguments against Tehri Dam, because it may cause earthquakes and may cause natural disasters. But at the same time, it was a good example of the equilibrium and the trade-off, and positive trade-off. So this is another example. Okay, over to Rajesh.
So coming to there have been in your article also you have pointed out various conferences, agreements of last Paris Agreement, a lot of international action, a lot of progress in renewable energy, in energy,
Yes.
and all that. But sudden Brazilian withdrawal after Trump from the Paris Agreement. I mean, where are we heading? I mean. What is the global scenario on environment? I mean, with this US's walkout, what would you say? So?
You see, one cannot really read the mind of Trump, and one is not competent to make comment on Trump and what Trump is trying to do. MAGA, make America great again. But the point is, one does not read his mind. India thinks that Trump is a friend. But, I personally think Trump is very unpredictable, and America as a whole cannot be trusted. The history has shown that America can never be trusted, because they have peculiar sort of psychology. Now, what Trump has done, I can only give my personal opinion.
Sure.
Okay.
On environment.
Personal opinion, and that opinion perhaps is endorsed by the majority of the countries, that it is a criminal act. It is a criminal act because 196 countries have signed this Paris Agreement, which is a path-breaking agreement and was the best agreement ever signed in the world, and one of the best international agreements. Now, to walk out of this agreement is something like this thing. What should you say? Now, just because America doesn't want to give money, or America want to go back to or increase their carbon emissions. Now, America is responsible for polluting this world. They are the consumers to the extent of 25% of world resources they consume, and their carbon emissions is also the highest in the world. Now, if America doesn't want to control this, then they are going against the world opinion. They are going against the future of the world. So it cannot be supported, and it is sheer madness to get out of WHO, to get out of WTO, to get out of Paris Agreement, to get out of all protocols. But this is nonsense. I mean, I mean, the world is really absolute, because they are giving way to the Chinese. Now, the World Health Organization would be controlled by the Chinese only now. after the Americans walk out. Is it good for the world? Certainly not. So the Trump does not want, and what Trump is doing in America also. My friends in America, they're simply wonderstruck. They are saying, what is happening? Because you see, this tariff thing, you see, every country has got economic councils. Joint economic councils with America. We have joint council America with Russia. So every country has joint economic councils. It could have been done through the joint economic councils by negotiations. It would have been done through our WTO. It could have been done by even by by economic analysis and through their through their Senate and House of Representatives. Their Congress is there. Where is the Congress? Is it a democratic country? Now, America talk of democracy and all that. Is there any democracy in America? I mean, that way, India is a heaven from that point of view.
Yes, sir. And the silence of the Congress is really deafening to me. And these reciprocal tariffs are a complete violation of WTO, MFN, maximum permissible tariffs, and everything. This is complete violation. I mean, WTO, WHO, everywhere they are working out.
No, it cannot be supported, and it will take time. It will take time. He will realize, because the world, when America goes into recession, world will also go into recession too, or other countries will suffer, but America will suffer most. So it's not a good step which he has taken. He should have done something very slowly and through negotiations and not by dictatorship. He is behaving like an emperor, as if he is the emperor of the world. So this cannot be accepted. This cannot be accepted.
The harsh truth is many export orders have already been put on hold. I don't have information about all, but two, three have reached me.
Yes. You see, it is America. Everything, in the world, for all the wars in the world, the America is behind this. Whether it is Korean War, is a Vietnam War, is an Iraq War, is a Iran War. It is, it is everywhere. America is responsible for the miseries of the world, including the Second World War and atomic bombing of Japan, which is the greatest, you can say, the crime of humanity. Now, America is still doing that same mistakes and same thing. What has happened to Afghanistan? What has happened to even Pakistan? And what is happening to other countries? What will happen in Ukraine? What will happen in Gaza and Israel? I mean, it is a sheer madness which is going on. So I don't know who will bring sanity into this world. But the trade, it is the fault of the Americans themselves, and the culprits are President Nixon and Kissinger. Kissinger took Nixon to China, and at that China at that point of time, India was far ahead of China. India was far ahead in education, in railways, in steel production, in in administration, in agriculture, in industries, in every aspect. China was far ahead of India was far ahead of China. Now Nixon and Kissinger wanted to grab the Chinese market, so they thought that this is the biggest market, that they will capture this market and they will sell American goods, this thing and that thing. But what has happened, it is completely boomerang. It's boomerang because China said, okay, you come, South China will open. There will be no labor laws, there will be no environment laws, there will be no land laws, there will be no disputes. You come, whatever area you want, hundreds of miles and all these things you can have. So can you believe more than 1,000 American companies, more than 1,000 American companies, they closed their shops in this America and rushed to China because they could produce these things at 1/100th time less than the cost in USA. So they thought it's a huge profit, and that profit, unimaginable. So USA, there's a very good furniture industry because logs and other things are easily available. The entire furniture industry was completely this thing. Their steel industry was closed. Once I went to Bloomington, and one of my son's friends, he says, my father is coming, so would you like to meet him and all that? Well, I said, Father, where does he work? Well, he works in Otis elevators. The Otis elevators. But sir, Otis elevators, the headquarters was in Bloomington, but the headquarters already has gone to Mexico. So why should Trump blame others? He should blame his own companies. Why does Apple build everything, all these things in China? And now they're going to other countries.
In Bangalore also.
Now it has come to Bangalore, but the point is, they were all the time. This Foxconn was a terrible company. There are case studies about the exploitation in Foxconn and all that in China. So how the Chinese labor were exploited and all these things. Now Trump, how can he build steel plants in a day? How can he build all these furniture industry or other industries or these things, established industries? It will take time. It will slowly take time, and that cost. What will be the cost? I mean, the per day, the labor cost it is estimated that total cost for an American labor may be $60 against China's $1 to $2. So that is the cost per labor. So how can they make it economical? And who will pay for this? You see, the consumers will pay. So America, if they impose 100% tariff, or even 50%, 24% tariff, to that extent, Americans are not going to sacrifice their pleasures and their consumptions. As for example, America does not stop consuming coffee or tea or basmati rice or medicines and all that. They will continue to buy the medicines. They will continue. Only about the car, there can be some compromise. That the cars, American cars, can be sold. Ford will benefit from this, but the American consumers will have to pay. You see, the latest example is my son wanted to buy a new vehicle in USA, so they hurriedly bought a Toyota SUV, because they said that if I don't buy now, we don't know, I have to pay again another $10,000. Who will pay $10,000 extra for the same car? So naturally, American consumers will suffer. More inflation will be there, and most probably, economists are predicting. Of course, economists' prediction have no meaning, but they are predicting there will be recession in USA. Only then Trump will realize that what is to be done, and he will have to do something about it.
So okay, coming to China, whose point you raised, China's economic policy, an optimal mix of capitalism and socialism, economic growth with development in true sense. I mean, compared to what you have mentioned in your book, absolute failure of Marxism in United States, USSR, the earlier USSR. And also China, how did China move? How did China gain in this optimal mix of socialism with capitalism? And are we following the Chinese path?
No. China. You see, these people were ruthless people, and people don't know. It is there mentioned in my book. I think how many 300 million people were killed during this whole regime. Now, China, you see what has happened. It's a closed economy. It is a closed. I mean, what they have done. North China, they have kept communism, the strict dictatorship. And North China is not developed that way. South China, it is not communism. There is no communism in South China. South China is absolutely capitalistic. It's a capital, you can say there are two countries in China. One is the communist country, another is a capitalist country. So South China, including Hong Kong and you say Shanghai and all that, these places, Canton, these places, this is a purely capitalism, more capitalistic than USA. If you see they are functioning there, and how many billionaires are born there? I mean, China has got now the second largest number of billionaires. How could these billionaires under communist regime? How could the billionaires come? So USA is the largest number of billionaires. China is the second largest, and perhaps China will outstrip. And India is the third largest billionaires with 205 billionaires in India. But Rajarshi, coming back to the trade-off and the conflict between growth and environment, can I give one or two examples?
Sure, sir. And also, after these examples, I want to know about what is your feel on Indian corporates, ESG reporting, how are they managing their trade-off? Are they reporting well? What is your feel?
No, the Indian corporates, I think, is much better, and SEBI is overseeing more or less all right. And if you look at the 100-odd companies run by the Tatas, do you think there's any? So the question of if you are aiming at question of ethics, now ethical functioning in India is much better than any other country. So because the rules and regulations, your SEBI and all these things, they're controlling. But can you give an example where Indian corporates are getting away with murders?
No. They are doing very well. You are right.
I think the Indian, you see, what you think of Infosys, you think of Tata's companies and IBM and this thing and that thing, and no Indian company is doing any hanky-panky here. Anything. They are making profits. The billionaires are being this thing and that thing. But, people criticizing Adani's, Ambani's and all that. But the point is that you have read Godfather. You see, behind every riches there is a crime. So USA, no multinational and no rich person has come up without committing crimes. So here also initially there were some crimes, but not now. And now it is much more regulated. You look at the regulation of the Reserve Bank, regulated of the SEBI, and self-regulation by Infosys, by Tata companies. Tata companies are also making profits. But nobody can say that Tata are the pioneers. Tisco is the pioneer of social audit. So no multinational in the world did the social audit before the Tatas. And the Tatas, there are no strike for when this was social audit undertaken, the report said there is no strike in Tata for last 50 years. I'm talking of 30 years ago. So, these are they have set good examples. Good examples. And you are talking of bribing and all that. All Chinese companies, they bribe to get their this thing. There is no Japanese company which doesn't bribe. United Emirates or Saudi Arabia. It is it is in black and white that unless you give 15% or 20% to this or even 25% to this person, you can't get any contract in Saudi Arabia. You cannot get any contract in Japan by the Japanese companies, Chinese companies. It is permitted. Now, if something is done by Adani or Ambani, now what is wrong in it? They're all corporates too. I mean, whether it is BMW or Rolls Royce or this thing and this thing, all the companies, because there are a number of case studies, hundreds of case studies where the big companies got their contracts with British Petroleum and all these things by bribing only. They got the contracts. So these are recorded.
So come back to examples of trade-offs, sir. Come back to examples.
Now, trade-off. What I'm saying, that two things are very important. That is, one is that political will, and another is the tolerance of the people. You see, Indian people are so tolerant. I think most tolerant in the world, that they accept this trade-off and compromise is done. As for example, when I joined in the Ministry of Environment and Forest, that was in the 90s. The forest cover, you will be shocked to know what was the forest cover in India. Any idea?
Your article says so. 13% now it is.
Okay. So when the British left, it was 30%. It came down to 13%. Now today I find, well, I don't know how the statistics, whether statistics are wrong or not. I find it is 25%. So 25% that increase in forest cover is a huge achievement. It's a huge achievement, and people had to cooperate. Otherwise, it could not have been done, because the common people, they have given their lands and other things for the forest, for this thing, and the people living in the forest, they have accepted the joint forest management systems and all that. Then you see that coastal region regulation, which was done by the Ministry of Environment and Forest, that within 500 meters, no construction should be made on the sea coast or on the riverbed. Now, that is most of the time it has been more or less accepted. People have more or less accepted. Many places have not been accepted. But in general, it is working. You see, in South India, in Goa, in this thing, you will find that the coastal regions are perfectly maintained. The riddles, tortoise are being are being nurtured. They are not being destroyed. Then West Bengal, perhaps they are not following this much. Recently, I had gone to Mandarmuni. Now, Mandarmuni, there are about more than 100 hotels. Now, 100 hotels, they are not really kept that distance of 500 meters from the. Some of the hotels have maintained, some of the hotels which were built earlier, they have not maintained. But in general, people are cooperating. And these coastal regions are being protected. All right, in many places. Then you see the water pollution. During my time, when I went to Kanpur, the effluent, the tanneries, the effluents are very poisonous, and hundreds of tanneries they are throwing all these into the river Ganga. And in Kanpur, one cannot actually take bath, or even the fish cannot survive in Kanpur. It is so polluted. Now, from the government, from the people, from the World Bank also, lot of efforts are done for the effluent treatment plants. So there are many effluent treatment plants which were installed. But what has happened? This is a trade-off which has failed. That these effluent plants, uh, maintenance of that, electricity, that it's costly. So the tannery owners, the small business people, they are not paying for that. So practically, the effluent plants were not functioning. So that was polluting the river in a big way. So now something is being done because of the political will. The Namo Ganga, the new Ganga action plan is being uh, you know uh, uh, more or less implemented, and at least water quality has improved. But people's cooperation are necessary in that. As for example, electric crematoriums have been built all around. But in some places, people do not want to burn their bodies in the electric crematorium because they do not believe in this. So they will continue to pollute the river and all that. But if all people agree, the people and people groups agree, then this can be stopped. This can be pollution from this stop. Then the water sewage from all these big cities like Allahabad, Kanpur, Banaras, and all that, they are flowing into the river without proper treatment. Now, if the municipalities really are serious and there is a political will, this can be done. But something is being done. Then the vehicle pollution, the people's cooperation are so necessary that it is even the political will cannot do it. Now, as for example, people in Delhi, almost every second person are buying SUV. Earlier, they were buying SUV with diesel. Now, why do they buy diesel? Now, just because they have the money, it has become a prestige issue to have this, SUVs for everybody. Now, I can afford it, but I bought a Wagoner. I had a Swift Steam Swift Desire. Now I have got a new Wagoner. Wagoner, I find it is very comfortable and functional. So I am trying to cooperate from my side. But if everybody tries to really be, they are conscious, they cooperate, then it can be done. So there, the people's cooperation is very necessary. People's education.
Sir, I would like to interrupt in this context of vehicles. I have bought a Tata Punch. I cannot afford an EV because EV has not scaled up. So I am also contributing to pollution of the environment.
You see, if you really cannot afford it, then but at least you go for the petrol version or the CNG version.
Yeah, petrol version, and I do all the checkups so that the minimum pollution is done. But EV, the Tata Punch also has an EV, but I cannot afford any company's, any brand's EV. That is the point. They're so
yes. No, the EV, that's why with subsidy, with the government help and all that, the prices of EV will come down. Prices will come down, and if we get the hydrogen fuel quickly, then of course research is going on. And another example of this trade-off, you see the power, energy now, the way even our society, I live in a cooperative society in Delhi. Now we have gone for solar, this thing on rooftop. So part of the power requirement is made by the solar. So America also, lot of households, they have gone for solar panels. So everybody can afford it, I think. Ultimately, it is individual electricity consumption can be made from solar energy to the large extent, if not the full extent. So slowly, the thermal power stations have to be closed down. The thermal power station has to be substituted by solar power, wind power, hydrogen, and ethanol, and nuclear power. There are problems with nuclear power, but still that is green power. So this is going on. We are really. It is progress is slow. Progress is slow, but I have not lost hope. I have not lost hope. Indians have not lost hope, and we'll be doing well. We'll be doing good, and I find great future for India.
So one or two last questions. We have already run out of time, but I just can't feel like leaving you. One
Please
question is on employment and energy angle. Compared with fossil fuel, renewable energy has been found to create on an average 3 times as many gross jobs. Is this true? And in an era of AI and automation, my research revealed that AI and AI-induced automation, IT automation, is affecting clerical employment. Then will renewable energy will increase employment? What is your angle on employment and renewable energy?
Now, employment is a serious problem in India, but it is because of our education system. Our education is not geared for skill formation. You may be knowing in Korea, about 80 to 90% of the students, they learn some skill at the 12th stage, at the higher secondary stage, and 80% of the people, they go for employment with their individual skills, whether it is computer, whether it is carpentry, whether it is hair cutting, or whatever it is. Our problem is, you may be knowing that in the corporate sector there is a dearth of skilled people. There are a lot of vacancies for the higher management posts, for the higher technical posts. So the problem is skill formation. So the overpopulation here, and without necessary skills, where would they get the employment? About the AI, we have to be very watchful. The person who invented AI, he said that AI will destroy the world. But there are many good aspects also. When computers came for the first time, people said that it will take away employment, and people become unemployed and all that. It will bring disasters. And in West Bengal, it happened like this. I tried to introduce computers in the central government offices in Calcutta, and I was sent back, and nobody accepted it. CPM government, they said, will not allow any computer to enter West Bengal. So I said that let me meet the minister. Met the minister. I said that let me meet Jyoti Basu. That he didn't have any objection. I couldn't meet him, but he said many objection. But he said that this coordination committee and all these things, they do not allow, because they will take employment. So West Bengal fell back. West Bengal could have been the IT hub today. Instead of Bangalore would have been in Calcutta. Bangalore would have been Bangalore. Bengal would have been Bangalore. But that has completely, because of the wrong perception. And similarly, AI, there are some wrong perceptions. I don't think that AI will take away your all jobs. There will be more jobs also. You see, that's, for example, computer industry has created more jobs. Similarly, AI industry will create a lot of jobs, perhaps the skilled category, that people have to be properly trained and skilled. So AI can do tremendous good, perhaps particularly in the diagnosis of patients and treatment and all that. They can greatly help. Can you imagine, without AI we can't just move an inch. Your wonderful thing, your smartphone is fully AI.
Right, sir. Right.
Smartphone, suppose today smartphone नहीं होता तो क्या होता आपको? You can't do any business. I mean,
My
you go.
defense PPT was designed with the help of AI, sir.
Huh? Yeah,
My defense PPT was designed with the help of AI.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You take in a minute. You are getting a reservation for New York, for USA, by airplane, and a number of airplanes, any plane you want. Now that would have taken days. For days you have to go to this thing that to the to the offices and all that, and stand there in the queue, and then you don't know. For a railway reservation, you stand in the queue for hours and all that. Now within minutes you get a reservation in the for a airline. You get a reservation for any hotel, any travel, any sort of thing. You can't think of a smartphone today. So everything online you can buy. Not only online, and WhatsApp, what a wonderful thing. You talk to your sons and daughters in USA and UK, and you can see them on. When I was when I was young, I used to dream that when telephoning people, when we can see the other side of the people. So I used to dream that will any day come when I can see my my brothers, sisters, or these things on telephone, that we are talking face to face. That has come, and
Right.
it is AI. So AI will
Right.
do wonderful things. So
So
let
last,
us not hope, lose hope. Let us be hopeful.
right, sir. Eternal optimist.
Thank
Last question.
you.
You share one experience as Deputy Controller and Auditor General of India.
What kind of experience?
Something which you can be told. There are many protocols. You cannot share everything. No? Something which can be shared.
I'll do one thing. When that time, it is about election. I'll tell you an experience. The Delhi election was there, and I was an election. I was selected as an election observer. Now, this is a very tricky job. After the insurgency in Punjab, I was also selected. Then some or other I avoided this thing, but Delhi I could not avoid. So I was made central observer for an election in this thing. So in West Delhi, something was going on. The Congress candidate, he came rushing to me. Congress would be MLA. So he said that there is large scale, false voting, and so do something about this. So it was in West Delhi, and then I rushed to that. We had a jeep and police escorts and all these things. So immediately rushed to the constituency, and there I found there are number of buses, truckloads of people came to give the vote, and there are huge queues. So the and the buses, obviously, it appeared the buses came from UP. It's a UP, Haryana, and all that. So they wanted to give votes. So there are two controversies. One was that which kind of identity should be this thing and that thing, and two parties were fighting among themselves. Then ultimately I said that any government identity and even a ration card or election card, that time was not that automatic, and or any office identity card, then provident fund, this thing, bank account, okay, then the parties agreed and all that. But the false voting went on and all that. So it was a school. There were 8 booths in that school. We had school compound, and 8 booths. There are huge queues. And the police officer came to me, sir, what should he do? I said that he came with a gun and all that. Should I, because there is an unruly mob and all that, so what should he do? I said that please don't do anything. You announce it, this thing. Don't fire in the do blank fire or in this thing. You do one thing. He announced there in loudspeaker that we have come to know that so many buses have come, and people have come to vote here who do not have who are not the voters in this constituency. So we are confiscating all the buses and taking them to the police station. And so if you want to go back to your homes, please go back to your buses. Otherwise, we are taking the buses to the police station. And and the moment he announced this, you won't believe, the entire crowd melted, and hundreds of people just ran to the buses and all that, and they drove off. So I could prevent the false voting in a booth as an observer. Of course, that was not really.
What a wonderful way! What a wonderful way! Really, sir. Now I have to end, sir. Any questions, if the audience, if anything they have, because we have, and half an hour session has gone on to 1 hour. It's wonderful. I can go for another 5 hours. But any questions, if anyone wants to ask or can ask later on. I know, Shoma, I think there are no questions as of. The session was grossly in engaging and highly educating. Let us thank Mr. Brahma and end the session formally. Shoma.